Hi, so I'm Alison from Alison's Astrology, and I'm here to talk to you this week about the week that begins the 29th of December 2024 and moves across to the 4th of January 2025. So it crosses the New Year boundary, which is quite exciting. And it's also quite an exciting week astrologically, actually. There's a new moon, and it does feel like a time of new beginnings and a healing time too. So listen in and let's see where we're going with that. The week begins, for instance, with Chiron stationing at 19 degrees Aries. Now, Chiron is often known as the rainbow bridge in astrology, and it's a link between the inner and outer planets because of its elliptic orbit. And it's also kind of known in esoteric astrology, maybe as almost a link between this life and the next, or this world and other worlds. It crosses boundaries, Chiron, because its orbit starts sort of with the inner planets and then crosses to beyond Uranus. So symbolically, it crosses boundaries. And in myth, Chiron is the wounded centaur. And the symbol of the wounded centaur speaks to us of places where we might feel inadequate. So where you see it in the chart is places where we might sort of quietly suffer or be hurt and wounded in a way. And it might not be an obvious wound. It might just be that we feel we can't do that very well or something like that, something that's not really, doesn't gel really very easily with us. We always feel other people do it better than we do, that kind of wound, And it's a kind of wound that you have to live with. It doesn't necessarily heal completely, but it can be transformed through personal growth. And it becomes often an expression of our humanity. That's where we're vulnerable. And we can see there our own vulnerability. And we come then from a new place of acceptance when we start to understand Chiron a little bit better. And we become perhaps more able to counsel or mentor others. And so now this Chiron is stationing at the degree of that solar eclipse back in April 2024. And the solar eclipse was at 19 degrees 23 minutes of Aries. And it was exactly conjunct Chiron. And I know that this eclipse sparked challenging events for many people this year, actually, and that the year subsequently has been difficult. So Chiron stationing on that same degree and now moving forwards, and now it's not going to return to that point for another 50 years, so it really is moving on. It's likely to for some people it might bring closure to the story, but that began back then, but it's at least likely to bring new developments or enable a moving forward in some sense. So think back to the 8th of April and have a look and see what was happening in your life around that time, what was coming into your life perhaps, and understand that now this stationing Chiron at 19 degrees again, it's going to move that story on. There's going to be perhaps another chapter. And if there were difficulties, then this could perhaps be the beginning of a period of emotional, physical healing too. Because it was difficult. So healing, moving on, and just understanding that we're now coming from a new place of greater depth, perhaps as well. And all this is happening, this station, during the dark of the moon, as we call it, the balsamic moon, the time just before the new moon, when the lunar cycle is really releasing everything that it's gathered, ready for a new beginning. It's a time of letting go, and it's a time to work on letting go as well, and release some of the pain and difficulties perhaps that have been part of the journey now for the past few months, because it's not for nothing, of course, that the new moon is almost at the same time as this Chiron station, and it's not for nothing that it's at the end of 2024. So an emphasis on releasing, and then a new moon to enable us to move more positively into 2025. So in order to let go, maybe even close your eyes sort of this evening or tomorrow morning, ball your fists, and then as you release them, you can just say aloud, I let go and I release all that I'm holding on to make space for what's coming. it's important sometimes to actually have a physical outlet and to do a physical gesture to symbolize that release. It makes it more real. So we move forward towards the new moon, which takes place at 27 minutes past 10 in the evening in the UK. So that's nearly 11:30 in Europe, where I am, on Monday. Yeah, so that's Monday the 30th. That's definitely Monday the 30th, isn't it? Yeah. And the new moon's a seed moment. And it seems appropriate that this should be happening as we prepare to transition from one year to the next, as I mentioned. And it's known as a black moon. There's lots of fuss on the internet at the moment about, oh, it's a black moon. That's just because it's the second new moon in a calendar month. You know, like if you have a second full moon, it's known as a blue moon. I'm not sure how important that is astrologically, to be honest, but it is significant that we're having this moon now at the end of the month as we transition into the new year. So a new moon at 9 degrees of Capricorn, shy, contemplative Capricorn. It's a yin sign with a strong spiritual element alongside its practical exterior. So it's an ambitious sign. It's a sign that seeks to take responsibility, understands duty, understands its duty of care, if you like, in a very material, physical sense. It's not the nurturing, you know, oh, come on, darling, Cancer moon. This is really providing the structures for survival. And that's what Saturn's about too. Structures like housing, food, security, those kinds of things. So all those elements coming in with this new moon. And it feels like a healing moon because of its proximity to that station in Chiron. And it feels like the two are connected. And it's a cardinal moon, this. So Capricorn, for all its sort of quietness and introversion, is a cardinal sign. So this is a good time to think about taking the initiative and beginning new projects. Although maybe wait a few days until you see the crescent in the sky before you launch them, because you want to wait until the light is kind of returning to the moon. And the new moon in the chart, it stands pretty much alone. It's ruled by Saturn in Pisces, emphasizing the desire to bring compassion and spirituality into this new year and this new cycle. It takes time over things, this moon. Capricorn and Saturn always have time. It's about the long haul, long-term goals, things that are going to be worked on. So not quick fixes now. This is about new long-term projects. It's about creating operating structures and strategies. It's about plans. It's to do with buildings, careers, things which have substance and which actually will manifest in the material world. So Capricorn likes to take the initiative, but it also likes to build upon and within what's already there and to take the old traditions and develop those forward, if you like. It's not about crashing everything down like Aquarius. And it's linked astrologically to the full moon that'll happen on the 29th of June 2026. That's a full moon around the same degree, that 9 degrees of Capricorn. And this is when things that we begin now may actually come to their fruition, may reach their full potential. So the time has come with this moon and this Chiron to allow the old year to pass and release its residues and move forward with quietly ambitious intentions. And then on Friday morning, early Friday morning, on the 3rd, Venus enters Pisces, and she's exalted in Pisces. So this is Venus at her most compassionate, her most romantic and spiritual. This ambience of compassion and sacrifice is at odds with the Mars-Pluto opposition, which perfects for a second time at 1 degree of Leo and Aquarius, just a couple of hours later. So with Mars and Pluto, we've got this Martian power and self-assertion in Leo as the individual warrior, and it's confronting these forces, if you like, of wider society or even fate, perhaps with Pluto. Things that are bigger than it at least. It's sort of struggling against them, trying to see how it can assert itself and and go forward with what it desires. So it's a retrograde Mars, however, this time. So it's a more reflective Martian warrior. And it's backed, of course, by that Capricorn sun, because Mars is in Leo. So we have the Capricorn sun, which seeks to maintain structures and build stable societies. And then we have Venus as well, strong in Pisces and joined by the moon later in the day. So that's asking us for love and compassion, and not just kind of disconnected, detached ideals, which is what we often find with Aquarius. So Mars and Venus are bringing the nodal themes as well into action, because the nodes are still, not for long now, but still in Aries and Libra, the relationship kind of axis. So Mars and Venus are bringing the themes of our desires versus those of the relationship in here too. And there's something with Venus about not sacrificing too much of ourselves for our relationships, perhaps. Compassion and understanding are positive always, but merging with the other is not. You know, we have to hold on to who we are as well, because for there to be love, there must be recognition of difference and respect of that difference too. So it's quite a complicated kind of first week as we move into 2025, but there's a real positivity as it comes with that new moon, the growth of the new moon, Saturn in Pisces with the spirituality and compassion too. So set your intentions when you see the crescent in the sky, as always, and look forward with optimism, I think. Optimism, cautious optimism, because it's a Capricorn new moon, of course, always cautious. And as we head into 2025, just a word about the year ahead, there are going to be big changes. The nodes are changing signs from Aries to Libra. So goals and relationships is moving to Virgo Pisces, which is the axis of service. What do we have to offer the world spiritually and practically? And with my astro friend Terry from Amethyst Astro Tarot, I recorded a video on what this means, and we look at it through the houses. So you can check it out in on my YouTube channel below as soon as you've kind of finished here. And we will be recording other videos as well during the year. On the big shifts, Neptune moving into Aries will be the next one that we'll be recording very shortly. Uranus into Gemini, Saturn into Aries too. And these are big deals. So there's a lot of kind of archetypal shifts coming in this year. So make sure you hit subscribe to be notified when these videos come out. And I wish you all a very happy new year and a positive 2025. See you next year.